Hey everybody, welcome to Coffee for Closers. Alex Wellings here. We're talking this week all about the farming systems out there versus hunter-gatherer approach as far as prospecting goes. Are you somebody that's just doing workshops, getting your closes, moving on to the next workshop, or are you somebody with systems for harvesting the crop, really planting seeds along the way and coming back and getting people, but always having business right there on the fringe? Or maybe you're somebody in between. All good information. We talk about it all here today, and hope you enjoy. If you've not already, make sure you smash that subscribe button, give us a like, or drop us a comment. That always helps. Take care. Yeah. Like smash?
I love that smash, dude.
All right, everybody, welcome to Coffee for Closers. Alex, Rick here as well, as always. And we are talking about farming versus, Dylan, what is it? Farming versus hunting. And interesting conversation. And what do we mean by that? We mean by that, like prospecting-wise. Are you more of a hunter-gatherer type person, or are you more a farmer in your prospecting nature? And so basically, are you just kind of eating what you kill and then moving on and going out for the hunt again? Or are you harvesting, planting a crop, or planting seeds, growing a field, and then harvesting that crop annually and always having food kind of around? And anyway, interesting debate. Figured it'd be something to talk about. The team was we were all chatting on saying this was probably a good idea for us to have this conversation. I mean, I feel like we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. But maybe just a whole episode talking about this stuff. So, I mean, what was the general thought here, Dylan? Was it just, did you have a specific question that you think was good?
Maybe what the downsides of just being the hunter, right? Going out, doing a workshop, closing the business, and moving on to the next one?
Yeah, it's talking about how a lot of advisors fail to farm and really build up that book.
The truth. Yeah. All right, so let's lay some groundwork then first before we start jumping into our opinions on this. One, hunter-gatherer. I mean somebody that's going out, doing workshops, right? And then works the crop or works the immediate needs, right? Mm-hmm. So I do a workshop. How many folks here want an appointment with me? Great. They come in. Let's say half the crowd comes in. Let's say I had 20 people at the workshop. 10 appointments get booked. Of those 10, 5 are in immediate position to do something. I close 3 of the 5, and I move on, schedule another workshop, and go. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, 10 people booked appointments with me. And 5 just weren't ready to do it at that time. And I'd argue probably that the 2 that didn't do business with me right now were just looking to get more opinions on it. So potentially those are even hotter prospects that if I just stay on them. So the hunter's like, oh, I got my 3 deals and it's more profitable for me to move on to my next venture than sit back and prospect these people. Yep. But the farmer looks at it and says, okay, hold on. I just paid for 20 prospects in a room. Mm-hmm. Why didn't the other 10 book an appointment with me? Why didn't the 10 that show up all do business with me? And how do I get those people back or keep them here with me and potentially harvest them when they're ready?
Oh, you take it to the even farther scale of, I had 20 people show up to the workshop, but I had 40 people register. Right, so there's at least an additional 20 people more that registered for the workshop that were somewhat interested in it.
So a farmer's always looking at all the prospects. So so one step further is exactly right. So it's like all the registrants. Yeah. Why didn't I get every one of these people to do business with me? Mm-hmm. Right? And if you ask advisors, anybody, the people watching, I'd be interested to hear comments on this. What's the best way? Mm-hmm. Why do people think that they don't do business with them? Right?
Yeah, it's always
do
a good
you
question
think that they didn't do business with you because they thought you didn't know what you were talking about, or they just didn't like your personality? Or do you think it's just because they were just kind of thinking about it and they weren't really ready to make a decision? Yeah. And the people that were ready to make a decision made a decision to do business with you. Yeah. Right?
Mm-hmm. Good question.
Because I'd argue that a good majority of the people that came to your workshop, if you're any good at this, didn't leave that workshop or not book an appointment or not show up to your workshop because they didn't think you were qualified on it. I've seen some nasty presentations. Some probably that's the case. Yeah. They just don't think you're as qualified as you think you are. And so this guy's a nincompoop. I'm not going to do business with him.
Mm-hmm.
But for the majority, a lot of guys are talking about strategies that retirees love,
Mm-hmm.
and they need time to get their head around the idea, right?
Yep.
And so for those that, let's say the 10 in that example that booked an appointment with me, came in, sat down with me, 5 of them had an immediate need, 3 of them did business with me. So there were 2 people that heard what I wanted or heard what I was pitching and didn't act on it. I'll bet you those people didn't go all the way through this sales process thinking, I don't want that safe money strategy, or I don't want that guy's theory on how retirement works.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't the right time.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? And so most people don't, like you're saying, Dylan, don't have a system to retarget these people or to keep on these people. And they might put them in an email drip campaign, but I don't know that that's even enough.
Sending them out, what's the best way to stay healthy? Sending that out once a month.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday is not going to keep them interested.
And then the other 5 that had no immediate need, like that's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't move to the next phase in the cycle because
for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
Qualified, didn't have the time or assets or whatever it is to do.
But so like a hunter doesn't ever ask the question why somebody doesn't move to the next, like doesn't introspectively look at their system on why they didn't move, because the answer to that why is how you harvest them.
Yeah.
Right? Or is how you'll come up with the way to harvest them.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the theories of the schools of thoughts. A hunter is like, why spend the time to spend and figure out all these people when I could just spend some money and get in front of new people?
Yep.
Versus the hunter or the farmer thinks about it and is like, that time, energy, and effort spent on those prospects might be costing me an hourly rate of time to like figure this out and get them back in. But there's no added cost because I have the name and information of an interested buyer.
Yep.
So rid yourself of, like Jordan Belfort says, the looky-loos, the tire kickers, the people that just had no actual interest in buying.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you've done that, those prospects are gold, and you never let them go.
Mm-hmm.
You paid for them. They're yours. Put them in your database. Make sure you've got a good harvesting system. And the thing is, it's like the people that think of that length of time as the waste of time, energy, and effort and money are senseless, because it generally is the same reason why people don't move from one piece to the next. And once you solve for that and put it on autopilot, you can put yourself in a place where you're constantly prospecting. You never lose the dollar of a prospect, and because of that, you bring down the customer acquisition cost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Watch Shark Tank if you don't like understand that. But customer acquisition cost, meaning how much did I spend to do business with this person?
Yep.
How much did it cost me to acquire this client? Because if I spend that money once, and then I spend is one-time fee on setting up a good harvesting structure, I don't have to spend more money doing more campaigns to create a subscribership or interested buyers list that I can prospect to for free. Anyway,
yeah,
I don't know. What would you do with that? I don't know. I would say something like, oh, you know what? Not only like if is a farmer or a good hybrid. Let me talk about a good hybrid. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good hybrid. I do workshops. Instead of, let's say I'm a old dog, I was a hunter, and I want to transition to becoming a farmer. I set up a good system to harvest all the people that were interested, registered for my workshop. I put them in a group that no-showed. I put people that come to my workshops and don't book appointments in another group. I put people that book appointments and didn't do business with us in a third group.
So you're talking about an email system that breaks them up into categories.
Just at least a CRM system.
CRM
system.
first.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly right. And then instead of doing, let's say I did 2 workshops a month, 24 workshops a year as a hunter, my hunter-gatherer / farmer world would look like I'm going to scale back and do only 1 workshop a month. But I'm going to harvest my clients better into these 3 groups that we just mentioned. And I'm going to do a database-centric workshop just for the people in my database each month as well.
Yeah.
And I'm going to retarget them based on coming in for more strategic things dedicated towards the people that missed my last workshop. So that let's say the people that registered and no-showed, I'll just invite them to the 12 workshops that I'm still doing.
Yep. Throw them back into the pot.
Throw them back into the top of the pile. For the people that come into the second work or came into the workshop but didn't book an appointment, I will schedule some sort of workshop just for that group of people. Hey, we know you didn't register or you came to one of our workshops and weren't maybe interested in our safe money strategies, but come to this other one on why safe money strategies are more beneficial than their closest counterpart, brokerage account, or why IRAs make so much sense kind of workshop, and start hitting them with other types of things that are focused just towards that group of people.
Right.
And do a workshop
like
just
you don't
for
have
them.
to step back to the original workshop you gave them, right? And I think that's a thing too, is like a lot of times.
It's like, why would I invite them to the same thing they didn't find interesting the first time?
It's like, I found it interesting enough to see you, but we didn't get the point across well enough, right?
Yeah.
So change the topic to something that's more specific. Maybe that bled from the workshop, right? A more in-depth thing than what you originally got
Social
them
Security 202 or tax. Now that you know Social Security so well, taxes, we mentioned taxes in there. Come to our tax-only workshop. Now that you've graduated from class 1, come to 202, right?
Yeah.
So something like that. Yeah. And then for those that booked an appointment, for those that booked an appointment and weren't able to do it, there's some other sort of prospecting that I do for that sort of person, right? Yeah. So depending on the issue or the reason why, I tag it right in my CRM system. I invite them to things that are specific to them, right? Look, for those 6 months out from retirement, I could tag people with that, or people that are within a year or two or 2 years of retirement. What's the most important for them? Events that are structured just towards that. And when I see a pot getting big enough, that's when I start targeting it, right? So I tagged a whole bunch of people that didn't book appointments. That's a really big pot for me. Okay, well, I got to focus on a workshop to help me harvest that crop because that pot's getting big, 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 big. Maybe this pot's not getting as big. The people that came in for appointments and didn't do business with me, maybe that's a very small pot. Well, maybe that's not right for me to focus my time, energy, and effort on such a small pot of people. Because generally, if I get them from this phase to this phase, I'm going to close them, right? Because that's what that says. If I have a very small pot of people that didn't do business with me that came in for that final appointment,
why allocate more time to that? Right?
Why would I allocate more time to that? Because I'd allocate more time to this thing, this giant pot of people. I lose a lot of people at this stage of the pipeline. I need a targeted effort towards that.
Yeah, again, it's like if you have 20 over here that you didn't do business with that you really spent a lot of time on already versus 120 over here.
Yeah.
Right? If you're looking for 1 or 2 sales, it's a whole lot easier to get 2 sales from 120 than it is from 20, right?
Yeah.
You know?
And the people that farm are never only farm. Don't hunter-gather. What a waste of time. Yeah. Because you're sitting there and you're never being a catalyst to your own pipeline.
You're talking the guys that only do like referral systems.
Yeah, you're letting your own book of business do all the work for you, and you're not pushing it through. Yeah. So the hunter-gatherer, you can't knock them all because they're forcing the issue.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do $20 million in annuity production this year.
And I'm going to go find
I'm going to go do as many workshops as I need to do to hit that number, right? Yep. Like that's because they understand their conversion rate, and that's it. Like, I'm just going to do it. And the farmer's like, I want to do 20 million this year. Hopefully I get there.
Yeah.
Hopefully my clients help me get there because I'm not going to do anything to force it. I'm going to send out some marketing, some soft touch marketing stuff to kind of nudge them in the right direction. But I'm not doing anything to hunt in these different spots. So it's the hybrid advisor that wins.
Yeah.
That's the person that does
I think let alone
20 million, has the lowest cost, because you could do 20 million and spend every penny that you earn getting there. That's a lot of what the carriers put out there as the top producers in our industry, the $20 million producers, $30, $40 million producers. But net at the end of the day, they're netting less than most of the people doing 5, 6, 7 million that have that hunter-gatherer / farm.
Guys have $1 million marketing budgets for the year, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think, too, on like one of the downsides of being like, they both have their downsides and both have their upsides, but you don't talk about getting rusty as far as sales skills go, right? Just simply farming, doing referral books, talking to family members, talking to,
man, isn't that another bag of wax?
Clients, right? Like, go out and do a seminar once you haven't done any kind of hard marketing for 5 years, for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
We saw it.
Yeah.
Remember, there were a lot of advisors that they just had the tax practice, right?
Yeah.
And they only had that, and then it started to dry up or whatever the case may be, and then they had to come back to doing workshops, and they had a lot of trouble doing it.
Yeah, no, that's so many advisors because they don't have. Again, it's a muscle that needs to be worked constantly. Public speaking, but also sales and closing. Like, some guys will be really good at closing appointments. Farmers generally are very good at a closing appointment. But then you see them in first and seconds, and they're like,
I don't know this guy yet.
I don't know why you don't want to do business with me. I don't understand. It's like, dude, you're getting to the close way too quick. Nobody wants what you're selling yet. Like, you haven't warmed it up at all.
Yeah.
So you don't even remember how to do these two things, these two steps. It's like, you can't just sit there and it's like, do you think a sprinter is going to be good at running the marathon?
No.
No.
Generally.
No, definitely not. Because it's a totally different muscle group.
Yeah.
Right? But a decathlete is very good at running distance, running sprints, doing all those things. Like, that's what you need to set yourself up to be, at least on a sales aspect, or put people in a place. Have a system that's designed to say, these are my openers, these are my mid-tier presenter people, these are my public speaking guys and gals, and this is my closers. And that's how this happens. Yeah. And companies set their sales teams up that way. They certainly do.
Absolutely.
And Al, to go back to retargeting, remember me, you, and Rick had a conversation not too long ago about people not utilizing texting like they should. Right after a workshop or after maybe a no-show to an appointment. You want to speak a little bit into that? I mean,
I'm a huge texting advocate. It's like, nothing speaks to anxiety more nowadays of like, why is this person calling me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
What is this number?
My business is more about talking to people on the phone, so I definitely have a more proclivity to that. But when I operate outside of the, if I operate outside of the world of work, right? Sorry, I just got a text message, threw me off, right? Of course. But I definitely feel that way. It's like, dude, I don't want to talk to this guy. Like, my neighbors call me, I don't want to talk to this guy.
There are 0 phone calls I want to take on the weekends.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mine, though.
Well,
right?
yeah. I mean, if I know who the person is, right?
Yeah. But still, like, there's not a thought of you that's like, when you call me on the weekend, I'm almost always thinking like, Rick's got something serious he needs to talk
It better be important.
No, not it better be important, but it's like, obviously you got something serious to talk to. Like, you need something, like, something's more than just like, hey man, what's up? What are you doing?
Absolutely.
Like, hey, check out this video.
Yep.
Right? So again, it creates this thing of like, am I in a place where I can take this? Can I have this call? Like, I'm doing whatever. Do I need to stop what I'm doing? It's become much more of an interruption of day.
Yes.
And people are like, well, is it okay for me to take a call in my current circumstance? So for me, it lends itself to a no-brainer that text message is going to be much more beneficial. And and people are like, oh, well, what about emails? It's like, emails are so inundated. Like, good luck. Yeah. It's like trying to yell at your buddy across, like, you're at a concert and you see a buddy like 6 rows in front of you over there. It's like trying to have a conversation with that guy. Yeah. That's what email's like. Yep. Good luck, dude. He could hear you. He sees you waving.
Yeah.
You
know I might like him, but it's not worth it.
It's like, you're like yelling it across and you can't hear what he's trying to say. And you're like, oh, okay. But then like the music dies down for a second and he talks to you. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this. There's no point to it. You can't have like, you're better off taking somebody from email and dragging them to text. Yep. You're trying to drag them away, right? Like, hey, let's go meet at the bathrooms and talk for a second, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And so text messages end up being a no-brainer for anybody to confirm. I mean, to talk to.
I think it's a two-sided thing too, right? If you're trying to like re-engage a client, again, one, right, the phone's a commitment. 2, it's really, I guess, uncouth or against social norms to just send an email with like one sentence to a client, right? If you're like, hey, it's been a long time since we talked,
like
want to get back in touch with you, right? Yeah. It's weird. You need, hey, look, this thing's changed, something's going on, and blah, blah, blah. So we're trying to get people back in the office, kind of thing like that, right? And that just means, again, you open the email and you got to read it, and it's like, I don't feel like reading it. I know it's from Alex, my financial guy. We went to that workshop, blah, blah, blah. Versus like you get a text message. It's a lot more direct to say, hey, it's Al. You came to the workshop. We met down with you. Some stuff's changed. I wanted to talk to you about it. You got some time to talk today. Like that's so much of a quicker, informal way.
What about
I'm
this?
sensitive.
It's like, here's a great thing. Would you be more likely to respond back? Let's just say respond back. And think of this in context too, with everything else like on the platforms. If I emailed you and said, hey, in one sentence, like you're saying, it's kind of unlikely that somebody would do this. But let's say, hey, Dylan, we're doing, just want, as somebody that came to one of our workshops recently, we're just letting you know we're doing a little dinner event for anybody that's attended one of our workshops in the past to kind of talk about some of the other things that are going on in the world. Get some questions answered. We know things have changed probably since the last time you attended. If you want to join, we'd love to have you. Signed, Alex Wellings, Wellings Financial. Or would you be more likely to respond to a text message that said, hey, Dylan, Alex from Wellings Financial, we came to one of our workshops. Just want to let you know we're doing a dinner for anybody that attended one of our workshops in the past. We're just talking a little bit more about the current financial stuff. So I know you had some questions back then about Social Security. This one's more about this. You're more than welcome to join us. I'd love to have you. It's like, that seems like an easy way to farm, platforms. Like, again, the research is there. Study it up. I was reading articles a couple of months ago that were like, average email response rate per 1,000 emails is like 2%.
Yeah.
Versus per 1,000 text messages is like 98%.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's no brainer.
Yeah, but the problem is not everybody has phone numbers, right? They don't have phone numbers for prospects, and it's really hard to get phone numbers on the registration side that to be cell phones, right? So what do? I kind of reserve text messaging for those second category people. Remember, we set it into 3 sections, right? The people that registered and didn't attend, the people that attended and didn't book an appointment, and the people that booked an appointment but didn't do business with us. The people that booked an appointment and didn't do business with it, the people that came to the workshop, I can get those cell phone numbers from these people, and those are the people that I text. It's easy, and I have a reason to text them now. And so, again, you're kind of look at your text messages. Like, I've got a ton while we're even just recording this right now. Yeah. Anyway.
I agree.
That's a good question. I mean, I just think texting is a no-brainer, and shame on you if you're not implementing it now.
Not to mention, there's so many systems out
there.
You're
lying to
yourself.
yourself.
So easy.
Yeah, you're lying to yourself right now if you are saying that you respond to a higher percentage of your emails than text messages. Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, that's because I get all my text messages from personal people. Yeah, it's like, okay, there's validity to that. But it doesn't mean that if somebody else texted you from a real number, not like some 5-digit scam number, right? Like,
I would never answer my mother's email. If my mom emailed me something, I would never.
What are you gonna do?
I would text her.
Yeah, you're gonna text her back.
I'd be like, Mom, why did you email me?
It's almost mean. Yeah, like, why are you going through a weird form of, like, that's different, and maybe that's our generation.
But again, I'm just saying,
that's
personal,
our generation,
it's
right?
Still personal,
but
right?
Like, if I was a business and I texted you, and I was a business that you came to one of my workshops and texted you, that's personal enough to get a text message.
Absolutely.
I'm happy that the guy I'm looking for buying a car right now is texting me rather than calling me. Yeah. And emailing me. In fact, he was like sending quotes back and forth. You know how they do nowadays? Trying to get this all done over the phone or whatever. Virtual advisor. But then he emailed it to me. I was like, hey, I'm waiting on your response. Like, we're just on the phone together talking about the deal. He's like, yeah, let me send you over the details on the car. I was like, okay, cool, thanks. And he emailed it to me. He's like, yeah, I was like, did you send it? He's like, yeah, I sent it to your email. I was like, oh, okay, let me get it. He's like, let me just text it to you. The text message came over before that. Yeah, the email came through. We just stayed in there, and the text message was just way easier. Yep. And now it's like we just text back and forth the whole time.
The car industry is a great example of an industry that was solely for people, hey, like, come here, talk to us, and let's go and take the car for a test drive, to where it's all like virtual now. Yeah. Right? Like, you're almost halfway. Yeah. I mean,
but they're kind of getting in trouble now.
Yeah. That is a really good point, Dylan, saying like how much car Yeah, it's a really good point. Because there was no before, I mean, 10, 15 years ago, right? That like, if you wanted a car, you went to the lot. Obviously, the internet changed a lot, but it's like if you wanted a car, even with the internet, like you looked at the picture, you drove to the lot, you looked at the car, you said, do I want this or not? Right? And now, whether it's I'm on Facebook or Craigslist or anywhere else where I can see anything, like now I'm getting more common ads to look at cars. They're pulling you in more than you having to go there, if that makes sense, right?
Oh, for sure.
Which is a really interesting
It's
industry
like I won't
change.
even go to a lot if I haven't seen the car I want online.
Yes.
Right? And the same goes for real estate, too. Like, this is the newest industry to start doing this.
Yep. Yeah, where before you walked into a real estate office and said, what houses do you have for sale?
Right. Or, like, show me some listings. Let's drive around and see it. It's like now it's Zillow. Hey, call the realtor. Yeah, I really like this house. Do you want to come see it? Sure. Most of the times, like in my instance, we just bought a house last year or whatever. When we were looking at houses, inventory, we ended up doing new construction, but inventory homes, when we were looking at those, the realtor wouldn't even show up. They just give us the code to unlock the keys that would fall in for this like electronic keypad. We'd open the door, we'd walk around, we'd call the realtor afterwards and tell her if we liked it or not. Yeah. And if we didn't like it, she would send us to another realtor.
Which is a crazy thing for that realtor to do. It's very trusting of a realtor to do, and that's probably just the market it is right now, but well,
there's nothing wrong with it. It's like you get the keys that are in this little box, and then you put them back in. You give the code. But you have an hour to unlock that box. Yeah. So you have to be there within this hour, and then the keys go. But if the keys aren't back in there, then they know who it was that went into that house and never put the keys back.
Yeah.
And they'll call you. They'll find you. Trust me, we tried. Jeez, we tried to just take a house. That didn't work.
Yeah, they really tightened up on the...
they tightened up on those screws. Yeah. No, but it's like...
No.
Good point. Honestly, other than the fact that my realtor lived in my neighborhood at the time, I probably would never have seen my realtor. She wasn't at the title closing. She wasn't at the house finalized. I did all of the down payments on the house online through DocuSign in Vegas while we were out in Vegas for the American Equity Conference. All of that. Never saw my realtor other than when we were selling my home. Yeah. That was the only time. In the buying experience, zero. When we were selling my home, she came over, like I wanted her to tell me if I needed to fix this damage or that damage and stuff like that. Different.
Yeah, different world.
But that could have easily been handled just by sending pictures to her or whatever. So anyway.
So for a lot of the people out there thinking, how do I go from a hunter to a farmer, or maybe that hybrid, right? Like the slow transition. What's the quickest way for me to do that? What systems do I need to be using?
It's not an easy answer.
I think it's.
Oh, you think
answer.
It is?
I think it is easy answer.
Oh, dude.
If you want to be first off, one organization, right? That's the first thing. Organize yourself.
Or not organizing your data is huge.
Finding a CRM system to then take your new organizational skills, upload everything into it. The hardest part of it is the creation of content to get the people back in.
There you go.
That's more different.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's a very hard. You're understanding how hard that is.
That's a difficult thing to do consistently.
It's like I need to you need to get your business analyzed. If you're not working with somebody that understands how to do these things, you need to be, right? Yeah. But you need to talk with somebody that understands, can point out to you how your business currently works. Currently, you do this. Currently, your customer acquisition cost is this. Yeah. By doing this, potentially we would do this. It would take about this much amount of time to do that sort of thing. That amount of time would eat up this amount of time you could have been doing workshops, but it would gain back more prospect conversion around this. This is why we got to this number. We got to this number by looking at these numbers, and these numbers. Right? And so somebody that's talented enough to analyze and do a business analyze your business analysis. Analyzation. I'm like George Bush, man. You know what I mean?
It's half Texas.
It's like an analyzation. No.
Aluminium.
No. You do a business analysis and come out with actual numbers, and if it makes sense for your business to do this sort of thing, right? For the majority, it will make a lot of sense because it's easy to amortize this small amount of time, the cost of setting up this farming system, to then it bringing in more dollars on the back end or the final number, right? And so setting this small chunk of time aside to generate a larger net number at the end of the day on your bottom line.
If I can interject as well, I think it also drastically depends on where you are in your career.
But that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
if
It's
you're
like
doing
that
$2 million in
analysis
business-
will be like, yo, no, man, you
Yeah.
do not need to, like, you have a long way to go before you could start farming a system.
Yeah.
Setting up a farm system is going to be counterproductive to you grooming your skills.
Yeah.
So it's not for the $1 million producer, $2 million producer that's still cutting their teeth and losing a ton of sales.
Yep.
But if you're running a conversion rate in the 50th percentile at your workshops, time to start finding a way, and you have been for a while.
Yep.
But if
absolutely.
you're like seeing a steady increase, like that it's like your eyesight, right? You don't get LASIK. You don't get LASIK right when you start deteriorating in your eyes.
Yeah.
You get LASIK once your eyes have leveled off, right? So that's the idea behind LASIK eye surgery. You don't want to get eye surgery when your eyes are still deteriorating, because you're going to get the surgery and it's still going to get worse, right? So when you get LASIK, what do? You've
hit your plateau.
You've hit your plateau. You're plateauing. Now I'm going to set this other thing up, right? So you got to get to a point where it's like, I've done all I can do as a presenter.
Yeah. I
This
can't
is
do
who
any
I
more
am.
workshops. I'm doing 2 a
I'm
month.
just not this stupid, charming dude that's going to get 80% of the people in for this, or I don't offer enough services to really appeal to the masses. I only convert 30 or 40% of my audience for appointments. Okay, if that's your plateau, and it has been for a while, we set up an opportunity for you to farm to maybe captivate any of the rest of the audience that's just not doing business with you, not because they don't like what you sell, but because it's just not the right time, energy, or time to do it.
I'll throw something else in there just before we depart. Business models are a great thing too. Obviously, those are more difficult. You need staff. Again, I think that also breeds into the same type of person we're
like
looking at.
complimentary goods.
Anything that offers an annual return of a client, right? Like a Medicare service, right? Having like a sub-agent that does Medicare or something like that in your office.
Yeah.
Taxes, PNC, any kind of business model where you get that client back in for a purpose every year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
More services, the better. The more you're going to convert on your workshops anyway.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I guess that's about it, but great questions. So if you are somebody that has more questions about farming systems or how you set up those types of things, feel free to drop a comment in, or if you like the video, give us a like, and of course, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. But it's a conversation. I mean, we deal with this all the time at Megastar Advisors. If you have questions about that, you can certainly reach out to us. But just in general, this is something that you should be discussing with whoever your consultant, mentor, or somebody is out there. So anyway, we'll see you guys next time on Coffee Closers.